I'm like Mello when I shoot, I don't miss. Yeah, they better check my stats. Call me Chris. Yeah, I ain't fly, but I'm known to whip that trick. Yeah, real quick, dog. Let me talk my ish. 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 Yeah, I'm feeling unleashed. Call me Gresh.
Greetings and salutations, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, non-binary pals, baby mamas, baby daddies, and everybody in between. Welcome back to the Gresh Unleashed podcast. This is your boy, the voice that does the most, the purveyor of mischief, Gresh, Gresh. And joining me for another installment of the Talk-In-Ish session is none other than representing the Wrestling Winedown. I hope I got that right. If I did not, I apologize. But joining me is none other than the queen herself. Hello. What's up with you?
How are you? Thank you so much for having me on.
You know, I had to do it. Because a lot of people don't know, but I still, this is weird, but I don't know how I interact with people on social media. Like, I don't know how we came across each other. I believe I probably said something stupid. And you probably laughed at it and said, he's cool. Let me follow him. I don't know how that happened. Like, do you remember?
Yeah,
how
I don't
we
remember.
I feel like we just crossed paths with each other. And I'm like, yeah, follow back. Because I always tell people, I'm like, I don't get notified when people follow me. So unless you interact with me, I don't see it. So I was like, when I saw you interact, and I was like, huh, she's funny. She's cool. Let's click the follow. But for those people who don't know exactly who you are or what you represent, well, first things first, who are you, and then what is the brand that you represent?
So I'm Lo. I was born and raised here in Las Vegas. I am the founder and host of Wrestling Winedown. Wrestling Winedown is a female-founded podcast dedicated to professional wrestling and wine. We started in 2019. It was actually my co-host at the time. We went to college together, and we both just had a love of professional wrestling, and we decided to turn it into a podcast. So we worked together for about a year and a half. She stepped away. She moved to Seattle, started her own podcast, non-wrestling related. So I just kept doing Wrestling Winedown, and it has turned from just being a podcast to now a brand. We sell merch. I'm one half of the AEW Dynamite post show with Lyric Swinton on bodyslam.net that started a couple weeks ago. And, you know, I just pop in here and there on other platforms as well. But Wrestling Winedown is definitely, I think the merch is taken over, to be honest with you. The merch seems like it's doing very well. The girlies love it. Everyone loves it, actually. So I'm glad that it's turned into a brand. So I've been able to, you know, learn a lot and also still hone in on my craft of podcasting and social media and different marketing and public relations stuff.
Bad bitches for insert name, but that's what took over. Because every time I've seen bad bitches for Daniel Garcia, bad bitches for who else? Who else do you have on there?
So our first ones we had Ricky, we had Daniel Garcia, we had Hook, and we had one other one. And then when we moved websites, Ricky Starks actually got his name trademarked. So I respect Ricky as a person and a performer. I took it down. I knew if I wasn't going to take it down, he'd probably send me a little letter in the mail.
Like,
so now our main ones right now are Reigns, which is for Roman. Daniel Garcia is still up. And then we have Eddie Kingston, which has been up for about a month and a half. And then we have Bad Bitches Love Wrestling. And recently I just started doing like very limited custom orders, which it's very interesting to see the names that people request. You got WWE names, you got AEW, Impact, New Japan, Independence. So the people love it. The bad bitches love it.
The bad bitches love it. And then you got it's like, that's why I was just like, I always like want to push that, is because I feel like, and we'll definitely talk about it as time goes on, but I feel like, especially with this platform or this community, it's heavily male dominated. So it's kind of like, I always respect because I was born and raised in a all female household, so it's kind of
Mhm.
like as I've grown older, I've always have a fondness or protection of whether it's female wrestling fans or just or just female in my life in general, and it's
Mhm.
not to be like oh hey look at me I'm pro women. It's more so like that's just how I was raised, so it's kind of
Right.
like I'm always having that fun and respect for people in this community. Like that's why I'm always every chance I get, I shout out Keeks with Public Enemies podcast. I shout out you or who, like if I've ever, like when before the podcast went on break, I had a co-host. She unfortunately couldn't do it anymore because of scheduling conflict. Swallow the Bandit, love you for life. But and I've known her since we were toddlers in diapers. So it's like I want I like respect and love like whenever you guys call for like, hey, respect us because we know like I believe the other day or was it yesterday, someone tried to correct lyric about something.
I
And
feel like this happens every day at this point. Yeah.
and it does, and I'll be like, and I don't really catch it because I be in my own bubble. But when I do catch it, I'll be like, it's normal for women to know this stuff. I be learning some stuff from from y'all, and and it's like I'm not ashamed to say that. It's just more so it's like, okay, I didn't know this. Now I do. Let's move forward. Like,
Yeah, I've noticed there has really been an influx in like troll accounts and just men that are just a little bit closed minded when it comes to women in our community. And I know some people are very much like, you don't have to respond to them, you don't have to say anything, but it irks me a little bit when I see it. Like sometimes I choose my battles and if I go and they have like 2 followers, I'm like, whatever. But there's some days where I just feel like something needs to be said. And usually when I say something, I notice that people start responding to and really, tell people how it is. And I feel like that's how it needs to be in this community when it comes to women in general. That, if you see a woman getting attacked online, everyone kind of being like, okay, well, we'll just let her handle it. Like, why? Like, why not stand up for what's right? The guy yesterday, he called Lyric girl. He said that Lyric girl, and I'm like, sir,
that's a woman.
like I feel like there is almost like a surprised aspect when it comes to when women know more than men or know something that men don't in this community. And I never really understand why. Professional wrestling is for everyone. You can Google stuff if you don't know what's going on or anything. You know what I mean? You don't have to think, oh, she's so much smarter than me. Like, she needs to get out of here. No, you need to go on google.com and utilize the resource. Like,
That,
it's that easy.
that's why it's like you don't ever see me arguing back and forth because I'd be like, huh, I didn't know that. Oh, and then I'd be like, whoop, I just Googled it. Yep, you're right. My bad.
And Google is free. That's the
It's
crazy thing.
free.
It's
Free
free.
99. Like, come on. Like, we do this all the time. And it's like that's why I'm always like if you notice, I don't know if you noticed or not, but like I've done a slight rebrand a little bit on how I handle myself on social media because I have caught myself getting roped into the wormhole of certain subsections of the community. And I'm
Mhm.
like, the moment when someone tried to label me a womanizer, I say, yeah, let me rebrand this because it's like I'm not out here stalking, harassing women. That's never going to happen. Like I don't. If you tell me like if you tell me straight up, no, 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 whatever, it is what it is. I'm like,
Mhm.
but it's like once that happened, I took a step back. I'm like, you know what, you you not gonna be like these fools that be behind the avatar. Your face is out there,
Yeah.
like bro. Man up. It's okay. Like be normal. No means no. Like and that's been my goal. Like to make or to remind people like, hey, I am not like that. So that's why it's like I'm cool. That's why I appreciate people like you, Keeks, Cher, but even though if that's her real name, as Jim Ross would say, because it's not. All these all these other people who basically pulled me aside was like, yo, you're cool people, but you gotta chill the fuck out.
Mhm.
So that's why it's like, and that's why I'll definitely when I catch wind of it, I'll be like, yo, what you doing?
Yeah.
Relax. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. Like
Right.
it's and that's why a lot of people like I with social media, they feel like if they're wrong, they buckle down instead of okay, I got called out. let me correct myself, let me move forward. So that's
Right.
why I'm appreciative of people like y'all for real. So yeah, had to say that a little bit. Yeah,
Thank you.
had to say that because it's in this space. It's like and even not even to basically dismiss what you guys go through, but there even are some women's wrestling fans who are pretty much like these troll men.
Definitely,
So
yeah.
it's like there's trolls everywhere, and it's up to us as a community, the good people of the community, just be like, you know what, we're gonna correct you, but we're not gonna dwell on you because you're
Hmm.
not worth our time.
Right.
Oh yeah. But speaking of wrestling wind down, like what makes it stand out above the rest in your humble opinion, even though it's your baby?
So I feel like the element of wine really stands out, and that's kind of what we wanted it to be when we started. We knew we wanted to start a wrestling podcast, but for me, I knew I wanted some type of differentiation between just a regular wrestling podcast talks about wrestling, etc., versus what we were doing. And my co-host at the time, she was a beer drinker. She was very into beer. She was like, "What if we did something with beer?" And I was like, "I don't drink beer. Like that wouldn't really sell, right?" So
Nah.
it's like, "What about wine?" And I came up with the name Wine Down, Smackdown. That's how that kind of came about. And that was really like our niche. And that continues to be our niche. I would really like to go back into the wine education aspect of what we had before. We've kind of dwindled that down a little bit just with everything else going on. But, if you go on our social media, you'll see the wine references. You'll see us trying different wines. We have Chardonnay and Cheese made with the Whitney and Fiero of the Rest Friends podcast and Fightful on there. And we bring up the wine references, but I feel like that's what makes us stand out. And I really just, especially with Chardonnay and Cheese made, that's like the girl talk, the wrestling girl talk. And I feel like you do have girl talk in the community, but no one is really just sitting there, like really just shooting the shit with their people. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
to me and Iridian are best friends in real life. Just to sit there and talk about wrestling, it's like people feel welcome. They feel like, oh, I'm just sitting there with them, kicking back, having a glass of wine. I feel like that makes us stand out as well.
Okay. Yeah. So and honestly that works because it's like everybody drinks. Well, not me. I smoke, but that's a whole nother that's a whole nother can of worm. But it's like everybody drinks, and it's like, okay, I like what you said. Like it brings them. So it's like, yeah, that's the cool thing. And it's like I feel like more people need to try to do that
Hmm.
because it seems like a lot of people wants to do what's trending, like
Yeah.
what's the thing, and that's the reason why this season, for those of you who listen to the Gresh Unleashed podcast, I basically said, you know what, we're not doing that. So that's why I incorporated more football talk or more scenarios. Like, okay, would you take this scenario? Because I believe my special co-host for the time being, highlight, he was like, would you? And it was so stupid because it took me a while to process. Because he's like, "Would you take $1 million or something from Tony Khan or date any woman in NXT?" I said, "NXT, my boy, what you thought?" Like it's stuff like that that's stupid but it was so lighthearted and funny because I'm like, he thought I was gonna say the money. I'm like, man, I ain't gonna lie to you, we can make money together.
That's
so,
true.
so it's like stuff like that. So that's why I appreciate when I come across brands or podcasts or merchandise content that stands out from the rest. That's why I can always recommend the guys content like your content, Public Enemies podcast with Keeks and all these people. It's not because I'm trying to basically kiss butt with them. It's because I've actually had conversations with you guys and actually like, okay, I can read you and know that you guys are genuine. And it's like, we need to push this more, especially as we grow together. It's like, okay, she, they are good people, push them. And it's like, yeah, we can acknowledge the trolls, but like, it's so many content creators in this space that literally lets the trolls basically define their personality, even with the
Yeah.
podcast games. That's why I'm always like, okay, let's push this person. Oh, you got a show? Like, you got a show? Or like Stephanie Hypes. Like, y'all
Hmm.
have shows, and I'm like, oh, okay, let's push them. Let's push them. Not for my own benefit, but because I'm like, y'all need to watch and listen to these people
Right.
because it's too many, it's too negative, especially in the wrestling community. Because
Yeah.
I've never seen, it's like I can't speak for everybody, but I've never seen a more negative community than the wrestling community.
I
And
mean, I think about pop culture. I mean, some of the pop culture stan areas of Twitter, you got like BTS, Nicki Minaj, like those are very toxic as well. And they're younger too. So it's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But in terms of like adult communities, I definitely feel like wrestling is probably the most toxic. I don't know why.
That's what I'm mainly talking about.
We're
Like,
watching like a stage show.
we're watching
And
Broadway.
yes, we're watching, or basically watching a telenovela with some violence in it, and people
With the
just
occasional blood.
people just argue like,
And I just be sitting there like, but why? It was like, and then you be they be people who just be hiding behind accounts and all this stuff. But then, like in my case, I'll go to like Detroit or whatever SummerSlam is that way, or this year I plan on going to the Royal Rumble or something, and they be like, I saw him on walking the street. Okay, well, why didn't you say anything? Like, you be talking all this talk
yeah,
behind your avatar, but then when you see me, you be like,
yeah. I've noticed that in the community as well. I actually just had something like that happen last week where people follow me, whatever. They see me in person, they just look at me. They don't say anything. They just look, and I'm like, okay. Then they get online and they'll be like, hey, I saw you, or they'll try and carry a conversation. And I'm not really like that.
Like,
I feel like even if it's just a simple hi, hello, how are you doing? If you don't want to carry a conversation, that's fine. But if you're staring at me
That's
and then you
weird.
get online a couple days later and you want to have a conversation, that's creepy. So don't do that.
Don't be a
I've
part of
also,
Street Squad.
I've also had other content creators in the community who I know it's different if I don't know you and you don't come up to me. I don't expect you to come up to me. We haven't had any conversations, but people that I'll say it, people that have stolen stuff from me who will see me and not say anything.
Oh
They'll just
yeah, we
stare at
know
me.
all about that situation. WW beep. Yeah, we're not gonna get you press over here. We know all about that. I was
Yes.
like, and that's a whole nother can of worms.
Yeah.
But it's so weird. Like, I had a birthday in October, and I'm like, I'm like, yo, 29, whatever. After that brief situation that I already addressed on the pod on the season premiere, the situation where a lot of people try to basically call me a womanizer or whatever. I had people like distance themselves from me for public image, and I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, bro, it's just wrestling. Like, you don't know me, so it's whatever. But then when my birthday came, I had all these people saying happy birthday, but then they DM me, be like, happy birthday, and I'm like, huh,
Interesting.
interesting. You have you don't want your sugar mama, sugar daddy to see you talking to me, like. And then it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, bro, there's one thing, and it's like, I think I put a quote out that same day. I was like, I appreciate people holding me accountable, but if you're continuing to hold it over my head, that's none of my current business. So it's like, that I had to get that out there. But yeah, it's weird. Like, people be weird, and it's like, and it's only what cracks me up was like, we're all adults.
Yeah.
It's only the adults that are the only thing I can't really stand account, but counts. But one thing I respect about them a little bit is that they are like, I don't fuck with you in public. Like,
Yeah.
bump handle this and DM. But it's like, as adults, it's always the adult community where it's like they keep that stuff. It's like, y'all be trying to gatekeep and push people away from stuff, and I'm like, for what? Like, because of your little followers? Like, what's the real reason? Because y'all be still rocking with people who've done far worse. let that sit, like, far worse. Like, they still be messing with people who are known to be racist, who are known to be basically sex pests, like pedophiles, low key, and all that stuff. But little content creator hurts your feelings, and then it's, oh, I don't fuck with him. All right, I hear you. I see you. We here. Just had to get that out there. But back to this, but back to online courses and all this stuff. Like, women, and we was talking about women's wrestling, women content creator in wrestling, more specifically Black women content creators, because I feel like I'm not finna dismiss white women content creators or other ethnicity, but I feel like Black women more specifically get the brunt of everything. Like I basically wrote down this is like this continued fight to be treated with the same respect as your male counterparts. As a male content creator and a male sports wrestling fan in general, what would you consider to be a right way to do that as far as like treating you guys as equal? Because I feel like we're saying the same message, but it's not coming across crystal clear. And like what can be done to make that make sure that's a permanent thing and not just performative? Because I feel like there's a lot of performative male support, but not like legit
Yeah.
male support. Like, what do you think can be done in a way to make that same respect legit?
So I think just in general, you know, promoting the women that are on your timeline that you support or you listen to. You know what I mean? If you see that they put something out, whether it's a podcast, merch, a video, anything, supporting them by retweeting it, watching it, supporting them. I think a lot of people will talk, but they won't actually put the action into it. And I feel like that's what's important. And I think also too, a lot of people run when it comes to conflict. There have been situations in this community recently where, I've noticed people speaking out, specifically Black women, and it's radio silent from, men on these issues. And I realized that, it doesn't impact them the same way that it might impact a Black woman, but it's still someone within the community. And I don't know if it's fear of retaliation, a fear of their public image, a fear that they won't be able to work with a specific organization, person, company, etc. if they speak out. But wouldn't you rather speak out for what's right than actually go and work for people that aren't correct, that aren't morally correct? So that's what I've kind of noticed in the past couple months is when things go wrong, who speaks out? When it comes to men, who's actually saying something, who's defending these women, who is standing up? You could easily say, oh, I love for women to be in this space, I love to see women doing their thing, but if you're radio silent when shit goes awry, are you really? Like, it just seems really hypocritical to me. And I know we talked about this a little bit earlier, but seeing different platforms who have had a lot of women on them and have basically built platforms up, and then the women leave, and then you have Black men who have stepped in to run basically pick up where they left off. I feel like that's disrespectful. Obviously, you're very much aware of what is going on, the situations. Even if you aren't, you can read, you can see it on Twitter, you can do your research. If you still choose to be an employee, whether it's paid or not, or you choose to associate with something like that, you are the company you keep. So I think a lot of people in this community forget that a lot. You are the company you keep. If you're hanging out with someone that's slimy, that, isn't a good person, people are going to think the same thing about you. It's not like, oh, well, she's nice, she just hangs out with people that, say crazy shit on the internet or don't defend women or have said crazy stuff to women, but hey, she's fine. That's not how it works. And I think a lot of people think it does work that way, but it doesn't. So like I said, I feel like it really is about actions speak louder than words. If you support women in this community, show it. Don't just say I support the women, but do you? I feel like people need to really actually sit down and be like, what can I do to be better? Like, I can lay out 15 things that a man can do in this community to help support women, but it's up to them to actually put it in action. It's up to them to figure out what they're comfortable with to show their support. So that's kind of my 2 cents on that.
That 2 cents, that was a full $1. That's what some of my grandma used to say. You gave your 2 cents, but that was a full $1 of knowledge. Yes, Lord. So yeah, and it's like, yeah, that's and honestly, as like I said earlier, like as a man, it's like it's easy to be performative, but it's really telling on if you actually are doing the work. Like you'll react differently if you actually support them genuinely. Like there's one thing to give the standard oh yeah she's cool guys, I like yeah like this, that, and the third, but then the person you're supposedly defending her with, you're still buddy
and I have to say, ever since all of this, the most recent drama happened, like I did go to that account and see who still follows it, because I was genuinely curious to see who is still and it's a lot of people that I'm kind of like, either I'm surprised organization, or it's people that I'm like, do you not see what's going on? And, a lot of people, they might not subscribe to, this stuff that happens on Twitter, and that's fine. But I also feel like you have to realize, like, this could happen to you. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like, this could have happened to anybody. And I know I'm being very vague, but if you've been in the wrestling community, you know what's going on. But you
Oh yeah,
never see
we both been through some stuff. So
you never see, people, specifically women, 10 plus women leave one company in a day.
in a day.
And the way that everything kind of just went, and I'm watching people, I'm even watching white women in this community who just radio silent, don't say anything. They'll send you a DM, but they won't say anything publicly. And it's like, okay, so how would you feel if I would have done that if you were in this situation? You would have said, well, why can't you say anything publicly? And I just, that makes me shake my head too. I give that advice from men, but also at the same time, non-black, non-women of color, you also have to stand up for other women. Like, you expect people to stand up for you, but when black women have issues, it's, I'll send her a DM. Can't say
Mm-hmm.
anything on the timeline. Don't want to ruin my
Mm-hmm.
timeline. Like, again, why?
Don't want to ruin the timeline, which is nothing but inappropriate tweets and porn. Okay, stand up for black women and like.
I think there's just, nowadays there is more black women in this community. I'm really glad to see that. But also at the same time, like, there's not as many black women in this community as there are white men. So I feel like people need to cherish that they have these voices, these people in this community who are bringing, new and different viewpoints, experiences to the table. Like, you not supporting them, you not, making sure your actions speak louder than your words. Like, that could make some women just be like, you know what? I'm
Fuck
good.
it.
I don't feel like doing this anymore. And I don't want that to happen. I want women to feel, powerful. I want them to be like, you know what? I might have had this situation, or, might have went through something, but I still feel confident because I know that I'll be fine if I leave a platform. I know I'll be fine if I go out on my own. And I feel like that element is missing as well. And I think that really, we saw that in the last month. There was a lot of women who just didn't even want to be in wrestling anymore. And that's just so sad to see, because there's so many few and far between, and every woman is unique. Specifically, I'm speaking of black women, but our experiences are unique. We've been through so much. We have these different walks of life. We're bringing it together to be in wrestling and to bring our different skill sets, etc. here. Why not just make it a comfortable space so that, women can just do what they want to do? They're passionate, they're knowledgeable. Like, what's the
Yeah.
problem? What's the problem?
They saved me. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you. Like, people be assuming, oh, this is a one man show or whatever. Like, because for years it was a one man show. But when I look back in retrospect, I would not be sitting here if it wasn't for that one black woman that practically brought me into this world, and that was my mother. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like there's always a black woman that had, especially if you're a black in the black community. There's always a woman that is always like I don't mean to turn this into like a personal story, but my mom, when she was here, she's been dealing with she had a nonprofit for over 30 years,
Mm-hmm.
and it was basically targeted towards battered women and children.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever she would bring an idea to someone, they would practically dismiss her or whatever. But then
Yeah.
when a man comes with it with a similar idea, which will more likely will fail, because she came to it with a genuine heart, and he came with it for the money.
Yeah.
It finally, during her last months here, it kind of helped, basically came to a realization: men don't pay attention to women publicly, but will go crawling to them privately when they need
Yeah.
help with something. Whereas we need to stop doing that, because as a man, we have to just be real. Like, remove the gender and just be like, okay, you are an
Well, I would say
intelligent person.
remove the gender and the ego. I feel like
And
there's
the
a little bit
ego,
of ego
yes.
in there. Yeah.
Yes, remove that and be and that is like, that story kind of relates to the wrestling community, because I've been
Mm-hmm.
noticing that, like, you guys will come up with a brilliant idea, and like I've had a few lady wrestling fans come to me like, "Yo, does this idea work? This, that, there." I'm like, "Yeah, do it." And she was like, "But I want to give it to you do it." Like,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't feel like nobody. And I always tell them the same thing all the time. if you are passionate about it and you actually are continuing to, and you ignore the foolishness and the fools and the jokers that don't mean you any good, you will grow. All you have to do is just keep going and keep pushing. And next thing I know, she was doing the thing. She
Yeah.
was it wasn't wrestling community, it was more so sports, but
Hmm.
it's still it's still an attestment here. And as a
Yeah.
man, I feel like no matter how big we get with followers or a community or whatever we do, it's okay and it's normal for a lady, a non-binary, to just to soar. All you have to do is give her that push. Like
Hmm.
it's normal. It's completely normal. So
Yeah.
yeah, we got to do better. And like, to say all that, we got to do better as men, as in this community. Like, we got to do better. Black men specifically, because I've noticed it's always the black men too
Yeah.
that be performative in their support, and then soon as shit hits the fan in the DM, I can't believe they did that to you.
Yeah.
Well, why didn't you say anything?
Yeah.
It's always like that though, man. But yeah, so yeah, it's like that. That's just to say, like, honestly, we just got to grow together, like, for sure. But I haven't done this in quite some time though. As we pivot forward, I've been away from content creating for obvious reasons. But I haven't done this in a minute. I want you, as a participant in Talking Ish, I want you to list a minimum of 5 lady female wrestlers, past or present, that you feel changed the game in professional wrestling sports entertainment. You have all the time in the world. Go for it.
I would start off with China. I feel like China broke a lot of barriers. I don't think she gets the respect that she deserves. She 100% deserves a Hall of Fame spot of her own. She was in those, men's Royal Rumbles. She was winning men's titles, and it almost seemed like for a while there they tried to erase her from
They did.
WWE history, and now it seems like they're a little bit more welcoming of her, even though she has passed away and is no longer here to see that. And her family has really been pushing on different social media websites to get her inducted in the Hall of Fame. I know fans have as well, but she is the first one that comes to mind. I feel like she really broke a lot of barriers, and she's inspired a lot of the women of who formerly wrestled as well as who currently wrestle. So I would say China. Let me see. I would honestly say Jazz and Jacqueline. So that's 3. I feel like Jazz and Jacqueline are pioneers. WWE does a little bit of a better job making us remember Jacqueline. They rarely talk about Jazz, which is a whole different story. But these are 2 women who really revolutionized women's wrestling as Black women. When you think of like late 1990s, early 2000s, WWE, WWF wrestling, you think of Sable, you think of Trish Stratus, Victoria, Jazz, Jacqueline, um, Sunny, but 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 those were the only 2 Black women who were in the ring, who were wrestling. And when you think about Jacqueline, like, she was competing in these, bikini contests and whatever. She was doing that aspect of things, but you get her in the ring, she kicks some ass. Jazz, you could not mess with Jazz. Like, Jazz had that energy, like, don't fuck with me.
The bitch
And
is
I've
back,
always,
and the bitch is black.
yes, I've always appreciated that about her. Just rugged, just we'll get in there and we'll just, you want an ass whooping, she'll give you one. I had the opportunity to meet the both of them 2 WrestleManias ago in Dallas, Texas, and I was more nervous to meet Jacqueline and rather than Jazz, which I was like, that doesn't make any sense, because Jazz is definitely like, she is her character. Like, when you go up to
Yeah.
her, she's like a very strong woman. Like, I was a little intimidated, to be honest with you, but I was not scared to meet her. I was more scared to meet Jacqueline, and she was so sweet. I wanted to cry. Like, she was like, do the pictures look okay? If they don't, we can retake them. She was so nice. I was just like, ugh. I loved it. And Jazz was amazing too. Loved my conversation with her, but it was just so amazing to just meet the both of them in the same space. So those 2 as well. Um, I have to say Bianca Belair. Bianca Belair is the WWE superstar that I wish I had when I was a little girl. I talk about it a lot. There weren't a lot of black women when I first started watching wrestling. The only couple women that I can think of were Crystal Marshall, who was doing double duty as a backstage interviewer and a wrestler sometimes, and Alicia Fox came a little bit after her. And Alicia was like that main one who was getting in there, who was wrestling. She was about it. But Bianca, she has done so well. She has become a household name. You see her outside of wrestling. I'm so excited for her to get this reality show at Montez because it will show that different aspect of her. But I also feel like it could bring in more female fans, specifically black female fans who, see a woman that looks like them and are like, she's a professional wrestler. Let me tune in, on Monday or Friday and see what she's doing. And I felt like with Total Divas, they did that so well because they had it on a program where you have the Kardashians, you have all of these different reality shows. You're going to capture women from that network. It's a primarily female network. Now,
got my sister in it.
Yep. See, and that's so crazy to think about. Like a reality show made women want to watch wrestling, and I really think that once Bianca starts up with her show, I hope that it's the same thing. I hope that we're able to see more females gravitate towards professional wrestling because they watch that program. But it's so crazy that we're talking about Bianca because I actually have this picture right here. So I'm like looking at it while I'm talking. But
when you mentioned Jazz, I looked at my autograph signing that I got of her from Detroit. So
representation, yeah. So I just feel like Bianca she is her. You know what I mean? When she came on the scene in NXT, I was like, oh my God, who is this woman? Like, I was just so captivated, and she is so amazing in the ring. And the fact that she is a homegrown WWE talent is amazing to me. And she has just done so many amazing things. She's main event at WrestleMania. She's been in with Sasha Banks in there. She's had these title matches. She's been able to do so much in her short amount of time on the roster, and it's just so incredible to see and to step back and look at it and be like, wow, that is a black woman doing that. Like, yeah, man. Like, who would have guessed that 5-10 years ago that we would have two black women, because all we used to see was a white woman. Maybe you get a black woman, but it was a white woman was still in the match. So,
or the primary focus, but to see two powerful black women, because Sasha, even though she wasn't as statured as Bianca, she that personality was
right.
Was just
and her
as
accolades
big.
speak for themselves.
And accolades speak like,
yes.
and it's like seeing that and feeling that, like as a brother, like, and who basically has young nieces. Like, I believe I just celebrated the youngest one. Well, not the youngest one. The youngest one is going to be in March. The youngest one, who's basically birthday before mine, like, she's my little game changer. I keep calling her that. Like, my sister don't really understand. She was like, why do you keep calling her? I said, because you don't really realize that, because she's always into the cheerleading and all this stuff, and she watches sports and all this stuff. And I'm like, you don't realize it. I'm just going to speak that over her life, because my mom always told me words are powerful. So it's like, that's a little game changer. And seeing like her or my little nephew who's into wrestling, see that these people that are larger than life, like my little nephew, he can look up to your Bobby Lashley's, your Montez Fords, and all these other people, or in my niece's case, your Bianca Belair's, Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks, who else? Like, it got some prospects in NXT that your Jakara Jacksons, your Jada Parker, and all these other people who are basically showing promise. I'm okay with the next generation learning from a lot of these like that's why I'm like, all right, I see you, Sean. You got the sisters up in there. I see you, my boy. Like, I have my jokes on social media, but like once you see me like in action, the jokes stop for social media. Like when we have that conversation, it's like, okay, here, check this person out. Check this like, and then I always like look at it from a different perspective. So like, like Bianca, she's up there. Like, you just look at her and you be like, that's and she's from the South too. Come on, man. Like, she like, man, when you hear her talk, I'm like, man, you from Tennessee, but you got it. And hopefully with the Hulu, because I believe the show is going to be on Hulu. Hopefully they push it on regular TV, because
I think they will.
A lot of people don't watch Hulu like that.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can push it on regular TV so where people are like, okay, let's tune it in. Let's do this and do that and third. So and
Yeah.
to see a powerful black couple like Montez and Bianca center stage, like you don't see nobody else. You don't see them hidden behind nobody. Like in Total Divas case, you saw John and Trinity, Jimmy
Hmm.
and Naomi at the time, and they were pretty much not in the background, but they were basically the from the clips that I saw were the life of the party when they're for their season.
Definitely. Yeah.
So it's like it's good to see a full black couple front and center, two powerful superstars, two powerful individuals front and center like that. Got any
Yeah.
more?
I actually have two more, and it's
Okay.
tied for that fifth spot. So I would say Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Martinez. So these are two women who have been on the indies for a very long time. I remember getting my first wrestling magazine and seeing Mercedes Martinez in it. I saw Mercedes Martinez and Mia Yim. That was when they were like on the indies. They hadn't made it to WWE yet or AEW because AEW wasn't around. And I still remember those two. And it's so amazing to see the growth and the progression specifically of Mercedes Martinez's career. She is a veteran. And the fact that she's able to be in Ring of Honor now and have these matches with like Athena and the rest of the AEW Ring of Honor roster, it's been so amazing to see. And I feel like she really has solidified her spot in Ring of Honor. And I think it was very disheartening to see her in WWE because they didn't know how to use her. And you're probably like, well, how do they not know how to use a veteran? Like there's so many ways that you can utilize her, but it didn't hit. And I felt like that with Mia Yim her first run as well. But it seems like now they've kind of placed her in this position where she is a little bit more seen than she was before. I don't think it's as much as it should be, but these are two women who have been on the indies, and Willow can do no wrong. Willow is 100% one of my favorites right now.
If you hate Willow, you are a problem.
Yes, I love her energy. She's so good in the ring, but that character that you see, that bubbly character and personality, that's her. Like you meet her in person, that's how she is. And I like seeing that transition from in ring to out of ring, and the fact that she's exactly the same. And obviously you might see a heel in person, they're nice to you, etc. But she is 100% the exact same. And every time I meet her, it's just such a pleasure. She's so bubbly. I remember I met her the first time I met her. I was so nervous. It was at a Black Label Pro show in Indiana last year, and I went up to her, I gave her a sticker, I was so excited, I took a picture with her and didn't think anything more of it, right? And then I met her again in May at Double or Nothing, and she was like, didn't I meet you last year at Black Label Pro? And I damn near passed out. I wanted to cry. I was like, this lady remembers me. So I'm like, oh my God, Willow remembers me. But it shows like these wrestlers, specifically, black women, like they see these other black women who appreciate them, who support them. And that means something to them because, if I wasn't supporting her, if I hadn't gone up to her or whatever, she wouldn't know me. But it's the fact that I went up to her, I was able to tell her, that she inspired me the first time I met her, and she remembered me again. Like I was shocked. This woman probably meets, a lot of fans in her year span. So that really meant a lot to me. And I've seen her after that, and she's always just so bubbly and nice. And I just love that AEW signed her, and they realize the talent that they have. You can really utilize Willow in any situation. We've seen them do that. We've seen them do that with Sky Blue and Julia Hart, and she's just had this growth in the company, and I feel like she also has solidified her place in AEW. And I think with her winning the Owen Hart tournament, which I'm so glad she did, I think that will push her to more things. I think that I would love to see her with the title. Absolutely would love to see it. I really feel like she could be that Bianca Belair figure in AEW if they do it correctly.
Oh, if they do it correctly. Because
yes,
I remember
I have to add that in. If they do it correctly, because she has that bubbly personality. She can connect with the fans. I think she'd do great, on, different talk shows and stuff like that. She has that personality for that. But it's all about them making sure that they can turn her into a household name, not just keeping her stagnant, which I feel like they did with Jade. They didn't capitalize on the fact that you could put her on a Sherry Shepherd show. You could put her on the Kelly and whoever her
Co-host is
partner is now, her husband, Mark.
yeah.
You can put them on, a television daytime show and let them shine. It seems like what I've seen a lot is a lot of these wrestlers, they leave the WWE and then they go and do like Sherry Shepherd or Tamron Hall. You had the Garcia twins, you had Mandy. Like, why not utilize that when they're on your brand? That can make your
Right.
brand grow and bring more people in. But hey, I work there.
We're not on the marketing. We're not on the PR.
on the
Like,
payroll.
you can't tell them the ins and outs in the social media and stuff. And I remember when someone, because I think I heard of Willow in 2020, I believe, before she signed with AEW.
Yeah.
I think she was still in ROH, like the old ROH, not the one that Tony Khan owns. And my boy Highlight, he was like, "Yo, think of Bailey and Bianca," and I was like,
yes,
huh? When he told me, I was like, what do you mean? She's like, just think of Bailey and Bianca, not current Bailey, but like Hugger Bailey and Bianca turned up. I was like, man, nah, you lying. And then soon as I saw, I was like, yep, yep, that's exactly what she is. So I love it. I love it. Like, that's why it's like it's like I try not to I'll always try to support them. Like I can list right off the top of the dome: Athena, Willow, Mercedes, Bianca, as far as current, and then it's like those are the main four that I was like, and then Trinity. Like, how can I forget lovely Trinity? Like, those are the five that I'd be like, I will follow you wherever you go.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you go to AEW, WWE, New Japan, the Indies. Like, I will, like, show me your match. Like Mercedes, Mercedes had a match recently with a good friend of mine, Ruthless Lala. She's all, you always see me interacting with her. She had a match, and Lala, that was pretty much her like, she loved that. Like, she was so emotional. I was like, yo, you did good, you did good, you did good. Because that's why I appreciate you showing Mercedes that respect, because I wasn't a fan of how she was in NXT, because it was just like, this is the best they can do for her.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's another thing that I always tell people is like, everybody's not going to hit or miss, but it's like, at the end of the day, is how you bounce back. Because everybody who's hit in WWE, there's a lot of misses, and everybody who's a hit in AEW, there's a lot, and I mean a lot of misses.
Yeah.
So you never know. And even in TNA Impact, there's a lot of misses, but there's a few gems that you can be like, okay, this is why I love this company. This is why I love this company. This is why I love. So it's like, and that's why I always like to, like, when I forgot who started the whole, I forgot who put it out first, but support the talent and not the company.
Yeah.
That's how I always look at it going forward. So anybody else you got, or was that your five? I just gave you a minimum. Like, you can name any more. Like, anybody else?
I think that's my five. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I think I do want to add, I think Impact and New Japan respectively have done a really good job at spotlighting Mercedes Moné when she's not injured, as well as Impact with Trinity. These women were in the biggest wrestling company, and they, left, and they've been able to make names for themselves outside of that company. And there were so many people who talk shit about the way that they left and what they were going to do next, and just drag him for whatever reason. And it's so amazing, and it makes me just so proud to see them be able to go to two respective companies and win titles, grow their fan bases, cultivate their fan bases, and have a good time. Trinity just looks so happy, and she's been having amazing matches. She's been working with people that either she hasn't worked with in years or has never worked with before. And Mercedes Moné is a smart woman. She is a smart woman. The fact that she trademarked her name, she started making merch, she was selling the cannabis. Like, she is a businesswoman and she is a wrestler. And I think that is so important in general, that people think about their brand. Yes, you get in the ring every week, you work, but what are you doing outside of that? That's why it's really good to see, different men and women respectively who have, decided to make Patreons or sell merch or do cameos. They realize how important that brand building is within professional wrestling. Like, yeah, you get in the ring, you build your brand that way, but what are you doing on your off time? How are you making sure that you're still connected with your fans? And that goes back to PR. I mean, I think that these companies really need to invest in their PR teams and their brand awareness and making sure that there's people available in there to help these wrestlers who more than likely don't have a background in marketing, PR, anything to build that brand. At the end of the day, you're going to be making more money. They're going to be making more money. So it's a win win situation. And furthermore, the fans are going to be happy because they're getting more coverage, more accessibility in a way to these wrestlers that they enjoy seeing, in the ring on Monday nights or Wednesday nights.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, so WWE, AEW, bounce up on that PR because it's like you be so frustrated sometimes with that.
Yeah,
But
truly.
before we wrap up out of here, what you got coming up as far as your brand and what you got going on outside of?
We have a couple more merch releases before the end of the year. We are currently in our Western era, so we'll be putting out one more Western piece. Well, it's one collection, two pieces, and then we do have some Christmas holiday stuff coming up. We will have another rendition of the Bad Bitches shirt dedicated to one of the timeline's favorite women's wrestlers. And that'll be it for 2023. We'll pick it back up in 2024 with some cool new ideas and stuff to put out. But podcast episodes are still going up. You can tune into those wherever you listen to your podcasts. Wrestling Winedown, WWDCAST, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And then you can catch me and Lyric on the Body Slam AEW Dynamite post show every Wednesday at 7:15 Pacific, 10:15 p.m. Eastern. The time zones will get you. The time zones will get you. So check it out there. Subscribe. And also check out the other women who are doing amazing things on the Body Slam platform. They brought in Stephanie Hypes and Queen of the Ring for the Friday SmackDown show. And then they are starting the Collision and Rampage show with Al and Mika, who were formerly from another platform, who have now joined Body Slam. So really excited to see that as well.
Oh yeah, make sure you guys check out Body Slam as well as Wrestle Winedown because you never know who we all got to grow together at the end of the day. That was the purpose of this bonus episode. I know I got all over the place. We basically that's just the beauty behind this conversation because I wanted to open this platform, this conversation. Like, hey, we can all grow together once you remove the ego, like you said. Once you remove the ego and the gender, just be good people at the end of the day.
Yeah. And, I do want to add too, I feel like there's a lot of women out there who might be wrestling fans right now who are thinking about starting a platform, starting a podcast, starting a YouTube page. I've had people reach out to me and say, I've listened to you and that's the reason why I've started. And, when I get messages like that, it really means a lot because I'm 26 years old. Like I went to college for this. I'm passionate about it, but I realize that there's a lot of women, older, younger than me, who might not have that institutional knowledge, who are just starting. And I implore them to just start. There's a lot of podcasts out there, whether they're wrestling related or not. And there's new podcasts every day. There's new YouTube channels every day. You just have to start. And, there's so many resources out there for you to, figure out how to make an overlay or figure out how to edit a podcast or make a logo. It can be scary and it can be different from what you're used to because it's something new. But I implore women, whether you're black, whether you're white, any race, if you want to start a wrestling podcast, do it. I think that, there's room for everybody in this community. And I specifically want to see the women, the population of women making content, whether it's podcasts, YouTube, etc. I want to see it increase. I think since I started in 2019, I've seen it grow and it's been so amazing, to watch. And every time I get on Twitter, I feel like I see a new woman who's like, hey, I just started a podcast. And it's exciting to see that, because I started a podcast or because, those wrestling girls started a podcast or any, big platform in our community has started, it's inspired other women. And I want to see it continue to grow. It's amazing to see these women from all over the world, all different backgrounds, be able to share their opinions and their knowledge on professional wrestling and do it because they love it, because they're passionate about it.
Oh yeah, for sure. So, and nice little tidbit for me to add, fellas, stop scaring them. Thanks, bud.
You're scaring us.
You're scaring them, man. Like it's okay to have healthy discourse, but once you get to the point where you start saying girl and that person girl or that insert
Yeah.
name girl or this be dismissive, you ruining the vibes, my boy. And we gotta block you. It's okay
Yeah.
because you're
Right to the
gonna argue into the
blacklist.
void. Like you're gonna argue into the void because we'll correct you, but then once you can keep going and we can read that you're just being stupid, then block.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap, buddy. Like you're
Grand
gonna be
opening,
arguing
grand
to the
closing.
literally because it's like it's and honestly, it's like I like once we grow as a community, I will always love and respect each and every one of y'all for real because whether it was me losing my mom or me going through situations where I was the main character of Twitter or whatever the case may be, the real ones like, yo, correct yourself. And as a man, I was like, you know what? You're right. Let me correct myself. And I will forever appreciate each and every one of y'all, no matter what. And I will appreciate you for hopping on this little basement podcast. I call it a basement podcast or illustrious podcast because it's like it's not a basement podcast, but it's like I don't ever believe people are watching this stuff until I see the numbers and I'm like, oh, you guys mess with me. All right, bet. But make sure you guys are following Russell Winedown. Follow Lo herself because she is a genuine human being that you guys should definitely be interacting with more because she loves this. She you wouldn't be doing this if you didn't love it. And
Absolutely.
for sure. Like, and make sure you guys are following Body Slam, all these other people so we can push this stuff and really just push it. And make sure you guys follow in the social media at Gresh Unleashed. That is on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I would say X, but we don't say it over here. And you can follow yours truly at Gresh on Twitter, as well as Josh Gresham RG everywhere else until I am able to change those names. With that being said, make sure you guys stay safe out here. Make sure you guys continue to just be genuine, be real, and like the other t-shirt says, because I'm rocking the both of them t-shirt, which is basically my saying on Twitter for some reason, but I just turned it into a shirt because why the hell not? But make sure you guys stay safe out here in these streets, and remember to always eat, sleep, flex, and repeat. We out. Y'all be breezy.